What's going on, everybody? Welcome to PFF's Live NFL Awards Shows. We have an awesome show for you tonight, highlighting some of the best players and teams throughout the NFL with the 2021 season. I'm Trevor Sikkema. With me, I have Sam Monson, Steve Palazzolo, and Austin Gayle. Fellas, fantastic season, right? I mean, 2021 did not disappoint. There were so many ups and downs, but that just made the highs, the best performances, the players who stood out even better. How was this season for you guys as we are here at the end of the road, end of the regular season?
Crazy season, wild results every week. The Jags beating the Bills, ridiculous games left, right, and center.
That's the one that stood out. That's the one that stood out.
And some crazy players showing up out of nowhere who are going to appear on these awards, but then a bunch of the guys you expect to see as well.
Sam Darnold started the season 3-0. So it's like this season was insane, right? They were like, oh wow, first year away from Gase. Sam Darnold's turned around. He finishes like the bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL. Chiefs were out of the playoffs. They're done. They're cooked. Spagnuolo their defense was 32nd EPA per play. Now it's like top 5. It's been a crazy season. Parity for sure.
Nobody knew who the best team was. It was crazy.
Yeah. No, we're going to be giving out some awards throughout the next hour. We're going to be recognizing all different kinds of performances from these guys. So highlighting everybody as best we can. Obviously talking about the finalists as well. Guys who maybe didn't win the award, but we're right there with it. Steve, you are new to the desk. So I just wanted to, with the live show, you haven't been on the NFL show with us. So welcome to the desk. I'm excited to hear you unload all of your podcast takes now in live show format.
I'm ready. And honestly, the award show, this is a big deal for us. We've been giving out awards for years, and now we get to do it and present it live and let everybody get behind the scenes and how we pick this thing, because we've graded every player on every play. So we got to give awards out at the end of the season.
I mean, Steve and Sam have been doing this for a long time, right? You guys have been doing
how long have you been doing the awards?
How long have you guys officially been doing like PFF's own awards, right?
We're into our second decade. We're into our second decade.
Wow. Second decade doing it. And I think not to toot PFF's horn, maybe this is what it's about, but we are uniquely positioned to give out a lot of awards, right? Like we do grade every single player on every single play. Offensive linemen don't win Offensive Player of the Year. Defensive linemen, unless they have a lot of sacks, they don't win Defensive Player of the Year. So I do think that it gives a unique perspective on the best players in the NFL.
And that's exactly what we are here to do. And we're giving away so many different awards. Of course, we're giving away the awards that you guys know, the Offensive Defensive Player of the Year and MVP. We're recognizing the rookies as well. But we've also got Best Special Teams Player, Best Pass Blocker, Best Run Defender. We're giving out so many different awards. And then we have our own variation of what is, I think, to Sam, the way that you would explain it is our Heisman, right? The Dwight Stevenson Award, which we will explain when we get to it, which is recognizing one of the best player performances of the entire season that might go a little bit past, or I don't want to say past, but it's a little different than MVP, right? Because everybody just thinks that MVP is a quarterback award. So we're going to give out who we think was the best player overall, period, in the NFL. Got to remind people that this show is brought to you by Western and Southern. While you guys are focusing on your roster moves, Western and Southern is focusing on your financial moves. Everybody needs financial advice, right? Whether you're buying a home for the first time, whether you're starting a family, whether you just want to see your money grow as best as you possibly can, Western and Southern is going to give you the playbook to get to exactly whatever your financial goals are, or even help you establish your financial goals yourself. It all starts by going over to westernsouthern.com/PFF. That is westernsouthern.com/PFF. Let's get right into it. Best Pass Blocker Award. I am going to name off the finalists, and then I would love to hear what you guys thought about all of these guys. Starting with Best Pass Blocker, let's go. Andrew Whitworth, Joel Bitonio, Joe Thuney, Zach Martin, Trent Williams, and Corey Linsley. Guys, what do you think about this group? Who really, maybe more than just one name, guys who really stand out to you among this pass block?
I think I want to kick it off with talking a little bit about Corey Linsley. I don't think he ultimately wins this award. I don't think he was the best pass blocker in the NFL. But I think because Creed Humphrey, the Kansas City Chiefs rookie offensive center, has graded so well for us, right? I think his grade among rookies in the PFF era dating back to 2006 ranks up there with Nick Mangold, right? He has been phenomenal. No one has talked about Corey Linsley. No one has talked about how good he's been for the Los Angeles Chargers. He was made the highest paid center in the NFL this offseason and has played really freaking well. Yeah. Humphreys played better, has graded better, but Linsley, maybe not the best pass blocker, but I want to give credit where credit's due. Corey Linsley has been damn good for the Chargers this year.
Particularly because last year was a career year for him, right? Phenomenal, allowed 4 pressures, I think, the entire season with the Green Bay Packers. Goes over there to be part of that rebuilding job on the Chargers offensive line, which has been just a wreck for like a decade. and backed it up, right? Had another, probably not quite a career year, not quite as good as it was a year ago, but another fantastic year in a new environment. That's really impressive.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you who won the award. It was not Corey Linsley, you're right, so I'm glad that you gave him his props. It's 40-year-old Andrew Whitworth.
40?
He turned 40 in early December.
Younger.
He turned 40 in early December, and this man is out here winning Best Pass Blocker of the Year. Tom Brady gets all the attention for what he's doing in the 40s, and here we have Andrew Whitworth, PFF grade of 86.1 in pass blocking. Steve, what do you think?
Whitworth is changing how we evaluate tackles. Again, like Brady being 44 at quarterback, Whitworth being 40, Jason Peters being 40. Whitworth has just been incredible, right? So when the Rams kept re-signing him, you just think, okay, well, he'll taper off at some point.
Eventually.
He hasn't. He has not. And Trent Williams, who's one of the finalists here, who we'll talk about more later, Trent Williams is only in his 30s, but Andrew Whitworth is making Trent Williams money, right? Because as Trent Williams gets older, Andrew Whitworth is making him money because he's still playing at such a high level at 40 years old.
I mean, that's such a good point, right? I mean, Trent Williams is going to make a ton of money as he goes into the back end of his career. I know a lot of Cincinnati Bengals fans here in Cincinnati miss Andrew Whitworth, man. When they let him go, they thought he was at the tail end, right?
Yeah.
He's just been dominating for Los Angeles.
He's given up 16 pressures in 15 games this year at 40. The only left tackle in NFL history to play a game at 40 or more. It's insane. Like, he had 6 games, I think, this year where he didn't give up any pressure at all. And you can, it's like the Brady thing, right? If you look hard enough, you can kind of see some areas where he's not quite where he was when he was 20. And Whitworth's the same thing. I think he gave up 5 sacks this year, so 16 pressures, 5 of which were sacks. When he loses now, it can be ugly, and you can kind of see him being mad with himself, but he doesn't lose.
Guys like Andrew Whitworth and what he's accomplishing here it's hilarious that you said that the way that you did. Trent Williams, he's only in his 30s. So, we used to think, he's in his 30s, he's on a decline, he ain't got too many years left. Now, Andrew Whitworth is absolutely changing the game. So let's go to run blocker. Let's go to the 5 finalists for Run Blocker of the Year. Giving the Road Graders, the Maulers, those big boys, some recognition here. We've got Trent Williams, Creed Humphrey, which Austin brought up there, Zach Martin again here, Joel Bitonio, David Questinberry, and Chris Lindstrom. So these are the 6 guys who are up for Best Run Blocker here. We've got a couple of guys who were in the pass block category as well that I want to shout out, Joel Bitonio and Zach Martin. Those 2 guys were in both of these categories. But what do you think about this group here for Best Run Blocker?
I mean, the award winner's obvious if you've paid attention to anything PFF has talked about over the course of the season. Trent Williams is on an absolute tear. But I do want to get, maybe I'm playing this role all show, but I want to give some credit to Joel Bitonio, who's on both of these lists, Best Pass Blocker.
You're gonna be everybody's favorite.
I'm going to be a credit guy. They call me the credit guy. But Joel Bitonio is on both of these things. Both of these things, pass blocker and run blocker. And I mean, with Wyatt Teller getting this monster contract this offseason, the other Browns guard, I think it's safe to say Joel Bitonio is one of the most underrated players in the NFL. Regardless of position, he is vastly underrated on what he means for that Browns offensive line. Wyatt Teller, more pancakes maybe on his tape. He's been on more Twitter highlight reels, but Bitonio has been phenomenal this year in the run game as a pass protector. Won't win either of these awards, right? But has graded so well. Right behind Zach Martin, too. Zach Martin's obviously a god. Everyone talks about him and Quentin Nelson in this guard tier. I don't even know what that is. But Bitonio has been phenomenal, tier. Giving him the credit there.
Sounds like a Boston accent coming out saying God.
God tier.
I just want to highlight how we come to this, right? So from grading every player on every play, we're going through and saying, okay, are you getting movement at the point of attack? You get to the second level, taking out linebackers. When we get to our winner, he does it all. But all these guys have done a great job. And then David Questinberry, the name for me, because Titans had a huge question mark at right tackle. All of a sudden, he steps in, and their run game didn't miss a beat, even without Derrick Henry, in part because of Questinberry's contribution.
The winner of this category? Trent Williams. You guys brought him up. You knew that we would bring his name up eventually. If you guys have a PFF premium subscription, you've seen Trent Williams' grades. Look at that thing. 98.3. Are you kidding me? That makes me think that, of course, we will also be saying his name throughout the course of the show. Sam, 98.3. That's unbelievable.
It's ridiculous. He's the winner of this award. He's going to be the winner of a bunch of awards tonight. That's the highest grade we've ever given any offensive lineman, any other position. It's the highest we've ever seen in the NFL over the last 16 years now of grading. The next 2 highest grades we've given to an offensive tackle belong to Jonathan Ogden and Joe Thomas, right? 2 absolute lock Hall of Famers. Trent Williams just eclipsed them with what he's done this year. Pass blocking's great. He was, an incredible pass blocker as well. But his run blocking tape is just a joke, right? When you go and watch NFL players play in high school, it's like, oh, look, that 280-pound guy beating up on a bunch of guys that are your size, it looks like that, right? Trent Williams is doing that to NFL
just
people.
Catching strays on the other side of the table.
Look, that's what he's there for. He's the stray guy.
Punching bag. Credit guy.
Stray guy.
Trent Williams is doing that to NFL players. Like, he is just deleting people from the point of attack and, like, single-handedly invalidating run fits because there's a guy who's no longer where he's supposed to be because Trent Williams just buried him into the turf over there somewhere.
Linemen, linebackers, you could pull them, backside of zone, doesn't really matter. Trent Williams has been outstanding at everything. And again, when we're looking at every play, it's are you adding value with positive grades? Are you moving people?
Right.
And are you not losing as well? So Trent Williams is great at that. He doesn't lose blocks and he wins blocks. It's two different things. And that's how you get to a 98 grade. Because we've seen guys good at one, not so good at the other. Trent Williams does it all.
Yeah, and it's also it's cool to see, you mentioned Corey Linsley and now we're talking about Trent Williams. It's not great for their former teams, but it is cool to see teams go on, get paid different contracts, and be really worth that money that they were getting. I think that you really love to see that as well.
All three, Whitworth, Linsley, Williams.
Right, Whitworth as well. Yeah, totally. He obviously longtime Cincinnati Bengal there. So let's talk about best overall offensive lineman. Zach Martin, Joe Bitonio, they are in this list as well. Of course, when you were in the finalist list for run blocker and pass blocker, you got to be a finalist for offensive lineman of the year. We're also adding Creed Humphrey. Rashawn Slater making the list here as a rookie, which is awesome to see. Then we have Jordan Mailata as well as Trent Williams. So, man, I just kind of talked about what stands out to me there. A rookie in Rashawn Slater making this list for the best overall offensive lineman in the NFL. That is super impressive.
Yeah, 98.3 grade for Trent Williams, right? I think the writing's on the wall for him to win best offensive lineman. But
right.
Rashawn Slater, again, deserves his credit. He has the second highest graded rookie season we've ever seen from an offensive tackle behind Tristan Wirfs, who practically broke PFF's grading for rookie offensive lineman. I remember being on the podcast, the Tailgate podcast, and saying, offensive linemen don't grade well as rookies. You have to let them pan out 2-3 years. And Trent Wirfs comes in, he's like, whoa, Tristan Wirfs comes in, and it's just like, whoa, what's going on? And now Slater comes through as well. He has been phenomenal for the Los Angeles Chargers, very few pressures, and he didn't play in 2020. He sat out the entire season for Northwestern. Comes in. Same with Jamar Chase, right? Same with Micah Parsons. These guys were just freaks, dude.
Yeah, top 16 in both run blocking and pass blocking for Slater. Mm-hmm. And again, it's the ability to split those things up. So when you're talking best offensive lineman, you can't be one-dimensional. And those are two different skill sets. I want to highlight Jordan Mailata, too, because his story, I know it's a slightly different rugby game than you're most familiar with, Sam, but
good work.
Jordan Mailata, we're 3 years removed from him having a couple good reps in preseason and saying that's pretty good for a rugby player. And now he's one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL.
He didn't play the game at all until 2018. We are just a few years removed from him being like, what is this weird shaped ball? It's too pointy. It's a different color. Oh, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And now he's literally one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL.
Yeah, it's just a steal for the Eagles. They draft him in the 7th round. He's a project.
Right.
We see projects happen. They occur all the time, right? Teams take shots on guys all the time. It actually paid off. They paid him well before the season, and he's paying them back with an incredible performance.
And overhauled a first-round pick. They had zero reason to give that guy a shot, but he earned that spot over a first-rounder.
Man, I know people talk about offensive linemen are the best athletes on the field, right? They're carrying all that weight. They're moving the way that they are. I feel like Jordan Mailata is an embodiment of that. Like you said, not even playing the game until 2018. This dude picks it up and just gets it. He's just an athlete, and they put him out there for an NFL team playing super, super well. You guys saw the writing on the wall. You mentioned it. The winner of this award, it's not Jordan Mailata, it's not Rashawn Slater, although those guys had fantastic years. It is Trent Williams once again. And this is not going to be the last time that we talk about him. Hopefully you guys brought plenty of Trent Williams notes throughout the show, but it's another highlight to what has been, what Sam said, one of the most dominant years we've ever seen from an offensive lineman.
Williams is funny because, sometimes the PFF data doesn't match up with what offensive line guys like to see. They like the finishing, they like the kind of intangible stuff that doesn't necessarily translate to winning or losing.
High.
But Trent Williams, everybody loves Trent Williams, right? Everybody is aligned behind the fact that he is just the most dominant left tackle in the NFL right now.
I got my first bone to pick with this list.
That's
I wanted to see Tristan Wirfs as a finalist.
We're giving it the award.
I wanted to see Tristan Wirfs as a finalist. Lowest pressure rate allowed over the last 2 years. He's been phenomenal. I mentioned him a little bit.
Was he a finalist last year?
Tristan Wirfs?
I know we didn't do the show, but when you were doing
I guess
the article?
a better way to frame the question is, do you hate Tristan Wirfs?
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, you know how we can solve that, right? Easy. you do the short list.
No,
next
that's
time.
true. Next time I'll do the short list.
You're signing up for extra work right there.
Actually, I will. Right now, Tristan Wirfs.
You can write him right in as a finalist.
Tristan Wirfs is a finalist.
So-
How about credit guy?
Some perspective.
Credit guy, stray catcher. Now you're the Tristan
You're the,
Wirfs guy.
you're the guy sending in the write-in vote. You know?
Yes, that's me.
Some perspective on Trent Williams. He's now been our highest graded offensive tackle in 2013, 16, and then 20 and 21. So it's back-to-back years now, and he's spread that out across 8 or 9 years. When Hall of Fame voters bring offensive linemen to the table, they used to say, well, he started 16 games 10 times, right? They used game start.
Right.
Started. They actually have data now to use. And I think we're helping maybe Trent Williams' Hall of Fame case and then Andrew Whitworth's Hall of Fame case. 2 guys who have won the awards tonight. And I think that's one of the cool things I think we're able to bring to the table here is some data. Because these guys are going to be up for the Hall of Fame at some point, and this is part of their resume now.
Right.
So congrats to Trent Williams.
I mean, Trent Williams was on, I think, the Richard Sherman podcast here at PFF, and he brought up in that interview, like, hey, like there's something, you guys are bringing something to the table that can actually credit how good offensive linemen are. Mm-hmm. Like that's Trent Williams is obviously an embodiment of that.
And it's just super important, right? Because there's so many coaches who would always tell you, like, the game starts up front in the trenches. And I know it's a massive cliche, but it's so funny that we have such a focal point of the game that for the longest time, we didn't know how to measure. Like you just said, Hall of Fame categories, we go, right. All right, yeah, he started for a bunch of years. And now we're trying to put grades into it. We're trying to give these guys their credit. We've done that here with the finalists. Trent Williams winning offensive lineman of the year. Let's get to offensive line of the year. With this being a team game as it is, let's recognize the best unit. Dallas Cowboys, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, San Francisco 49ers, Philadelphia Eagles, Los Angeles Rams, and the Washington football team. These are the 6 teams that we have as the finalists for the best offensive line in football. Guys, who stands out to you there? We got Tristan Wirfs. Look. We got Tristan Wirfs on the graphic. He's right there. We got him back. So what do we think about this list? These teams, giving some shout-outs to some of those guys.
Who are we giving credit to, Austin?
We got to give credit to Tristan Wirfs on the graphic. No, I think the bigger takeaway I have from this list, which I think is great, maybe you slip in the New England Patriots, but I know they battled injuries. 5 of these teams are playoff teams, and the other one is obviously the Washington football team, who's led by Taylor Heineke, one of the lowest graded quarterbacks in the NFL. But offensive line play has moved the Niners, the Eagles, 2 teams that do enter the postseason as dogs on the road. I think have made them legitimate, right? Have given them this run game, have helped them zag as other teams zig. And I think this has been obviously a super impressive season for all of those teams. Washington on the outside looking in, largely because of bad quarterback play.
Niners and Eagles are interesting because, they're the teams that people are saying, they're dangerous because they're different, because they run the ball and they do trust their offensive line. When the Eagles pivoted to actually running the ball and not dropping back with Jalen Hurts like crazy, they played to their strengths with Jordan Mailata, with Jason Kelsey, who's one of the better run-blocking centers we've seen over the last decade. So Niners and the Eagles being there. The Bucs have stayed relatively healthy the last couple of years and been one of the best offensive lines in the league. So it's a good top-heavy group of offensive lines here.
The other thing about the Eagles is that they have been banged up and injured. Like, this is not the starting line they would have wanted to use going into the season. They haven't had Brandon Brooks all season long. They've been missing. They used 15 linemen this year. Now, okay, a bunch of those were in Week 18 where they had nothing to play for and they played the backups. But they have played 15 different offensive linemen, and yet somehow it's still coalesced into one of the best offensive lines in the league by the end of the season.
I also think Donovan Smith has improved a ton in his late career, right? Like, I think I was talking maybe on one of these shows talking about Donovan Smith as like a guy that maybe they should move on from in free agency and stuff, but he has improved a ton over the past 2 seasons. He's been a big reason why, not just this year, but last year too, they had one of the top offensive lines in the NFL.
Donovan Smith has definitely stepped up, and he's played his best football over the last 2 years. Of course, having Brady behind him, Brady protecting his offensive line, that goes into it. But there's no doubt about it that Donovan Smith is an example of offensive line as a whole unit.
Yeah.
And when Tristan Wirfs came in, and when Ryan Jensen and Alex Kappa and all of those guys started all playing really well together, Donovan Smith also started playing really well with that group. And so that just kind of goes to show how much it is a cohesive unit. But the winner for Offensive Line of the Year is the Dallas Cowboys. And I think that this is so interesting because many, many years ago, it feels like the Cowboys invested heavy draft picks and heavy capital into that offensive line. And yes, we talk about Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup and Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, all of these skill position guys. But it's because they emphasized up front, and here they are, still in 2021, reaping those rewards as the best offensive line for us.
Do we do it? How about them Cowboys?
There it is.
That's what
there it
number
is.
one line. We waited on that. We waited on the Cowboys.
I wish you would have told me that. I'd have a Cowboy hat ready for you.
I have one.
Texas isn't back,
You're the
but
Cowboy
the Dallas
hat guy.
Cowboys offensive line is.
We've spent a lot of time talking about Trent Williams today, but Zach Martin, 94 grade. That's going over, like 94 is extremely high.
That would win the best offensive lineman most years. Like, just because Trent Williams is in existence this year, Zach Martin is the also-ran. He's the first loser, right? The first runner-up that we don't talk about. But that is a performance that would win that award most years.
So you got Martin at right guard. He's elite. I think with him and Quentin Nelson, you'll debate for the next 10 years who's the best guard in the league. Both of them in the conversation. But the big thing this year, Tyron Smith was healthy for the first time in a while. Well, he wasn't healthy the entire season, but when he was out there, he played
really well
at the same level he was in 2015, 2016. So a healthy Tyron Smith was out there, and they didn't have anybody grade below 64. So it's not just about the star power with Dallas. It's having guys like Connor McGovern step up when they moved him around. Tyler Biadasz took a big step forward. Terrence Steele. All these guys rounded out a really good, solid offensive line to go with those stars.
And that's something that you guys have talked about a ton when in the 2 decades you've been here at PFF, is that the offensive line is like a weak link unit, right? Like you can't have weak links along the offensive line. You have to creep towards average, which I know is something that you've said. Having no offensive lineman grade below 64.0 is very hard to do.
Like they eliminated the weak link.
Exactly.
Last year, Tyler Biadasz was a legitimate liability on this line. This year he wasn't. It wasn't great, but he was solid, and that was all they needed because Tyron Smith over 90 for the first time since 2015. Zach Martin with the second best season of any offensive lineman in the league. Everybody else was pretty good, and then Biadasz just sort of brings it all together by not being a problem.
All right, let's get to the award that everyone's watching the show for. This is the award that everybody is hearing.
Yeah.
Special Teams Player of the Year. This is what everybody wants to know. Who is PFF's Special Teams Player of the Year? I'm going to announce 5 finalists, and then I'm just going to get right to it. I'm going to announce the winner right after that. We have the finalists of the Special Teams Player of the Year award. A.J. Cole III, Justin Tucker, Ken Wangu, Ashton Doolin, Matthew Adams, and Troy Dye. And the winner is A.J. Cole III. Let's go, baby. Let's go. The kicking specialist. Player of the Year. Sam, you gave out this award. It's a punter award. Let him have it, my friend.
It's a special teams award, so any special teamer, punter, kicker, special team specialist, the ace, they can win it. Here, it's kind of a joke, right? Special teams, most people.
No. What do you mean? No.
Most people don't.
If by
care
kind
about
of a joke, you mean 1% in the 99.
But let me tell you something about PFF's punting grades in particular, right? They were devised in conjunction with an NFL punter, Chris Cluey. We sort of approached him. We were like, hey, we want to make our special teams, our punting grades a bit better. And he was like, oh, I've been waiting for somebody to ask. I've got this like matrix set up all ready to go. And because average and net average, they don't do the trick. Because sometimes you're punting from the 50, sometimes you're punting from your own goal line. It's different, right? So he has this matrix set up with hang time, direction, depending on where it is on the field, all these kinds of things. And then it's been modified by a couple of other NFL punters as well, and special teams coordinators who looked at it. Our punting grades are genuinely amongst the best things we do, and the grade when it comes to punting just does such a better such a better job of explaining how a punter is actually done than all those net averages or inside the 20 or anything that sort of hinges on everybody else.
There you
Because
go.
a lot of those like box score stats for punters are like heavily correlated to like average drive end positioning, right? Like if you're like pushing yourself towards the 50, you're going to get inside the touch. If you're like team stinks, you're the Giants, QB sneaking on 3rd down, you're going to get longer punts because you have more opportunity. Like that's I think grade.
Well, this is right after offensive line, right? It's almost like you didn't have a real way to grade punters, and now we kind of are. My last question that I want to have for Sam before we move on: do we have a specific column category PFF grade for spinning the snap for the field goal? Like if he gets it right? No? Really?
We haven't tracked that yet. We do have long snap accuracy.
We're missing that.
We're missing long snappers are available for this award.
So every player, every play, every game is just a lie?
No, we're tracking it. We just don't care about if you spin it.
We don't have.
What do you mean? Laces out. It could ruin the game.
I'm leaving.
We could use holding grades.
I am retired.
I think that Ray Finkel was overdoing it. I don't think it was that big of a deal.
Whoa!
No hot takes on it.
We're moving on.
We're
moving on before you say anything else.
It's over.
Finkel's fault.
Best run defender is next. So 5 finalists that we have for best run defender. Aaron Donald. Shocking that he's on this list. Darius Leonard, Cam Hayward, Christian Wilkins, DJ Reader, and Cam Jordan. These are the 6 finalists that we have for Best Run Defender. I don't think we need to say too many words on Aaron Donald because I think that we'll have the opportunity to do that later and throughout the show.
But it is worth pointing out, like,
yes?
there are people out there and entities out there that think that Aaron Donald doesn't defend the run well.
Yeah, could not be us. Who are we giving a shout out to here in this
the
group,
credit
Austin?
Guy?
Yeah,
who are we missing, Austin?
Right,
who are we missing from the?
I think Cameron Jordan.
I don't know why Tristan Wirfs isn't on here.
I talked about like underrated players. I brought up Joel Patonio. I do think Cameron Jordan is one of the more underrated players in the NFL, and it's because it is year in and year out run defense. I think DJ Reader is another guy I'll bring up. It's a guy that the Cincinnati Bengals signed to like a decent deal the previous offseason. He got hurt. They weren't able to reap the benefits of that. And he's one of the pieces that Duke Tobin has done a good job of over the last 2 years adding for Cincinnati. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins obviously get brought up a ton, but like Reader, Awuzie, these are guys that are part of that improvement. Hendrickson, who has a ton of sacks this year. Reader's a part of that as well. I think Reader and Jordan are 2 names that stand out.
I just want to highlight what might go into the run blocking grade here and the best run defender, because we're not just looking at tackles. We're not even just looking at tackles for loss or anything like that. When we're looking at every play, it's about taking on blocks. In Aaron Donald's case, he's in the backfield, forcing running backs to cut, right? And essentially winning his gap. Are you winning blocks? Are you not losing blocks, right? A DJ Reader holding the point versus getting blown off the ball. A Darius Leonard always being in position, forcing fumbles for extra credit. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's hundreds of snaps that go into the grading, not just 50 tackles or a couple forced fumbles. So it's a lot of stuff. So Aaron Donald being disruptive, DJ Reader being just a force to move, Darius Leonard being in the right place at the right time. A lot of different ways to get onto this list as best run defender.
All right, so here we go. Best run defender. The winner is Darius Leonard, linebacker from the Indianapolis Colts. Sam, what do you think about Leonard here and what he's been able to do this year?
I mean, obviously this year, Darius Leonard has been an absolute turnover machine. That guy has perfected the art of the peanut punch, but doing it in a way that you don't miss the tackle at the same time, right? Whether or not you actually connect on the ball, force the fumble.
The Leonard lunge?
No, the maniac mallet.
Lunge.
The maniac mallet?
Yeah. Those are both terrible. Don't do that. No. But he manages to force the ball or punch the ball at the same time as actually making a tackle anyway. Like, even if he didn't get the ball out, he's taken that guy down. His average depth of tackle as well was 1.5 yards from the line of scrimmage, so he's not he's not getting blown off the ball, sort of sifting his way, fighting off a block, and then grabbing a guy only after he's made 6 or 7 yards. And a good play, he's actually making impact defensive stops towards the line of scrimmage.
It's too bad the Colts aren't in the playoffs, because I'm going to encourage people to watch the Colts play next September.
Too soon. Just way too soon.
I'm sorry, but watch Darius Leonard play football. He is at the line of scrimmage. The cat and mouse game between him and the quarterback. I haven't seen anything like this since Luke Kuechly, as far as calling out plays, telling his teammates where to go. He is on point. He's a few years into his career, but Leonard is becoming one of the best all-around linebackers in the NFL because he just knows what's coming. He's prepared, and it's obviously helped him from a run defense standpoint.
I got one more. The Darius Doink.
I was thinking just D's. I couldn't stop thinking about it.
No,
we just
not good.
Look, maybe another show for that.
We've coined the peanut punch has been in existence for those 20 years that me and Steve have been doing this. Leave it be. Don't mess with it.
Fair enough.
All right, the Darius
Charles
Doink.
Tillman's getting royalties out of this. Stop trying to screw him.
Best pass rusher. 6 finalists for the pass rusher. We got Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Aaron Donald, told you he'd come up again, Micah Parsons, John Allen, and TJ Watt. Lord, I do not envy you picking the best pass rusher from this group. These are some studs. Austin, who we giving some props to in this list?
I've also, in addition to the credit guy, I've also become the guy I know that guy's not winning. So I'm kind of because I'm giving credit to all these guys.
Well, now you understand how the show is going.
I will
for
give some credit to Max Crosby, which I think is other people will bring up as well. I think he had over 100 pressures this year. I think he's the only edge to do it technically because J.J. Watt, when he did it, he played more on the inside, even if he's an edge. But Max Crosby has been phenomenal this year. Started the year on such a hot streak of going against bad offensive tackles. I think that's something that a lot of people bring up. You guys have talked about that on your guys' podcast, that, he's going against some bad players. When you go against bad players, you got to show up. There are a lot of edges in the NFL that go against those same bad tackles and don't put up the numbers, 100-plus pressures that Crosby has done. You got to show up week in and week out, and he's done that. He's been such a massive leader for that team, too. He's got the captaincy, and a guy that's been really outspoken in the NFL about his sobriety, and I think that has been really impressive. I think Kenny Moore, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer have all really taken to that as well and have seen that as someone that's moving forward. Same with Darren Waller, too. So Max Crosby, phenomenal player on and off the field, captain for that team, and honestly, Maybe he won't win pass rusher of the year from PFF, but a phenomenal year from Crosby.
Yeah, he's been outstanding. The 100 pressures plus that you mentioned. I want to talk again about what goes into this whole thing, because it's not going to be sack totals. TJ Watt has had a fantastic season.
Right.
And everybody's going to be expecting TJ Watt to win that. Unless you're a Steelers fan, you might be all over us. But every single snap matters, right? And sack totals are very much dependent on other stuff that happens. It's also maybe only 20 or 22 and a half of your 500 pass rushes. So every single snap, are you winning your block? You're going to get credit for that, sometimes whether you get home or not. And again, that's where Aaron Donald always seems to stand out. He is always winning, and if you're at the mercy of a quarterback who gets rid of the ball in 2 seconds, you might not get a pressure, but you're winning your block and probably getting credit from us. So that's a lot of the stuff that goes into pass rushing grade, not just looking at stats, but looking at every single snap.
You mentioned the name, the winner of this award. It is Aaron Donald. It's so hard for us not to give this award to Aaron Donald, even amongst the incredible list, the Max Crosby, the TJ Watt, the Myles Garrett, all of those guys that were there, those finalists. Aaron Donald stands head and shoulders above the rest. 93.6 PFF grade. Sam, why was Aaron Donald the choice here that you had to go with at the end?
Yeah, I mean, 86 total pressures. Didn't just lead all interior defenders, but led them by 19. Like, he was an order of magnitude higher than any other interior guy. Most years, Aaron Donald leads the entire NFL in pressures. It was only Max Crosby this year that kept him away from doing that. If Crosby didn't show up this year with that monster 100 number, Donald, again, would have led the league in pressures. And that's all positions. Like, you get more pressure as an edge rusher than you do as an interior player. And for Donald to be at the top year after year after year is just crazy when you watch him, particularly late in the season. There was a 4-game stretch where he had 35 total pressures, more than the entire Atlanta Falcons defense combined, and just went on an absolute tear, grabbing Cardinals guards and throwing them back into the quarterback for a sack. He is just unstoppable when he's at his best.
I wanted to give a big shout out to Micah Parsons for the year that he's had, to just even make it on that list, right? I think y'all remember draft night and how crazy it was. The Cowboys traded back from where they were, traded with a divisional opponent who might have gone up and gotten a quarterback. And you're just thinking, what in the world are the Cowboys doing? There's no way they have a plan here. J.C. Horn was off the board. Patrick Surtain was off the board. They're panicking here. They picked Micah Parsons, who's a good football player. But you sat there and you're like, okay, you have Jalen Smith. You have Leighton Vander Esch. Like you have all of these guys at linebacker. Where is Micah Parsons even going to play? And this dude is so freaking good at football that they were just like, okay, we're putting you on the field in any way that we can. Started off as a linebacker, but then they needed him, obviously, to come into edge from injuries, and he filled in so well that we have him on this list as a finalist for Pass Rusher of the Year. Just wanted to shout out him for having an incredible year, because as a rookie, what he was able to do as an off-ball and an on-ball edge,
incredible,
pretty
absolutely incredible.
Highest pressure rate of any player at any position.
We'll talk about it with defensive rookie, but incredible season that we've never seen before from Parsons.
Let's get into best pass coverage. We've got a mix of safeties and corners for this one. Jordan Poyer on this list, Jalen Ramsey, Kevin Byard, A.J. Terrell, Antoine Woodfield Jr., and Darius Slay. So an even split, 3 corners, 3 safeties here. What do you guys think about this list here? Steve, actually, I'm going to start with you. If you want to explain kind of the grades with the coverage, you can, or if you want to give a highlight to one of these guys.
No, I think it's a good mix of players who have done different things. We have Jalen Ramsey with the Rams, who has essentially played like a late career Charles Woodson role. They put him in the slot, have him play the run. They play a lot of zone there. You have a guy like Antoine Woodfield, who's just a pure too-high free safety. You have a guy like A.J. Terrell, who just has not given up any yards this year in a zone-heavy scheme. Darius Slay took to all the zone that the Eagles are playing. So it's just different style players. And from a coverage standpoint, again, if you see a corner, they get torched deep, and they start celebrating the incompletion because it got dropped or whatever. Like, oh no, that's a negative grade, right? It's 0 for 1, but we're gonna grade you negatively. So putting the context behind each play.
Are you sure? I thought that they did that so they wouldn't get a negative play.
Well, the good players, they start to know, like if there's like a busted coverage or something, you point. You always point. You never say my bad, right? So if you bust a coverage, you always point to someone else and blame them, so we think it's them.
Yeah, turn around and shout at somebody that isn't you so that you think that guy busted.
Never say my bad on the football field, because PFF will think it's your bad.
But that context is important, right? Because it highlights a name that is not on the short list. Trayvon Diggs and his 11 interceptions, not on the short list. And it's because of those plays, right? The ones that don't necessarily show up in the highlights, where he's given up over 1,000 yards in coverage. He is getting beaten an awful lot. And even if you adjust for all the things. Like, believe me, my mentions have seen all the excuses for Trevon Diggs in the last couple of weeks.
I don't envy
Even
you
if you adjust for all those things, right? The garbage time, the leads they're playing with, the zone coverage, all of this stuff. No, none of it explains away those numbers. He is getting beat an awful lot, and it offsets a lot, not all, but a lot of those 11 interceptions.
Antoine Woodfield Jr. on this list already is a second-year player. A lot of people that did not see because of injury concerns. He's too small. Like, a lot of this was not going to work out. He's coming in and just absolutely balled out. A big part of that Super Bowl team for Tampa Bay. And this year, I think he's, the number 2 graded safety this year. He's been pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, so Antoine Woodfield Jr. not winning this award, but another one of these safeties does. Kevin Byard. Kevin Byard comes away with the award, best pass coverage, PFF grade of 90.5 here. Sam, what impressed you the most about Byard throughout the season?
Yeah, incredible season for Byard, who's been one of the best safeties since he came into the NFL. Remember there was a while when we were looking at the college grading, you're like, are any of these guys good? Can any of them play in coverage? Like, they're all hard-hitting, strong safeties that belong in the box. And the second you back them off the line of scrimmage and you make them play a deep zone, the whole thing goes to hell. Kevin Byard was the one guy where, like, he can do it. Like, he looks like he's got that kind of skill, and he does. He is a ball hawk back there. He's got great ball skills, but he's also solid. Puts the safety in safety, does not screw up very often at all, always makes the right play.
All right. And the Titans don't make sense, right? They've had this revolving door of defensive players. They don't make sense. They're the number 1 seed. They've had 90 players play football, but Kevin Byard has been the one consistent piece, 5 pass breakups, 5 interceptions, making plays all season.
The Titans are unbelievable because when you look at that Tennessee Titans team and all the success they had, even when Arthur Smith was there as offensive coordinator, the one guy you'd be like, they can't lose him, is Derrick Henry. And then they lost Derrick Henry, and here they are, number 1 seed bye week in the AFC. Like, it's funny how the Titans don't make sense, but it's players like Kevin Byard that were able to hold them together while Derrick Henry was out and have the successful year they have. Let's get into the pretty boys. Let's get into the best passer award. So this isn't MVP, folks. We'll get to all the rage and the debate about that more towards the end of the show. But best passer. 6 finalists we have here. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Very shocked, of course. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, and Kirk Cousins. You want to give a shout out to Kirk Cousins, Austin? No?
Graded really well. I mean, I want to focus in a little bit on the 2 second-year guys, right? Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert have both graded really, really well this year. I think Joe Burrow ultimately finishes the season number 2 in PFF grade this year, and he's been number 2 overall, number 2 from a clean pocket. I think he's number 1 versus man coverage. He's been phenomenal. And Justin Herbert, I mean, you saw that in the Week 18 finale. This dude is nails. He is phenomenal. Another really, really good, young, up-and-coming quarterback. I want to give a preview to a piece PFF is working on right now. We talked to over 20 executives in the NFL and a handful of analysts here at PFF asking them who they take, Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert. Of all the executives we've talked to so far, not a single one has picked Justin Herbert, which is absolutely insane to me.
Wow.
Which is insane to me.
I am shocked by that.
I know.
Actually.
I was shocked by it too. Doug Kyde, a shout out to Doug Kyde, a reporter here at PFF. He's talked to a ton of league sources, and no one is picking Herbert. He also talked to Bruce Gradkowski, former NFL quarterback and a PFF analyst here. He said, Joe Burrow, what else do you need? Like, this is an interesting case, right? A lot of people obviously like Justin Herbert for the tools, and he's more than the tools. I'm going to drop that.
Yeah,
people like Justin Herbert because he plays fucking good. Like, he's a good quarterback.
It's crazy that it's that one-sided because you'd think this was this close.
Exactly.
Right? You go back to last Sunday and what Justin Herbert was able to do every time his back was against the wall in the fourth quarter, season's on line. You lose this game, you're done. 4th downs, he just continued to be incredible what he was doing. And it's crazy that it's that much of a landslide for those two dudes.
It feels like until the last few weeks, it would have been Herbert in a landslide. When they played, people were saying, oh, Herbert's way better. He's got the better tools, and he outplayed Joe Burrow in that game. And PFF was the one saying, I actually think Burrow played better. And then from that point on, Burrow went on a tear and only wasn't the number 1 graded quarterback because he sat down in Week 18, didn't play, allowed some old guy called Brady to jump him in the rankings.
Who?
But that's all that's separating Burrow from being that number 1 QB.
All right, let's get to the winner. Drum roll, please, for this one. It's quarterback. We've got to. Yeah, thank you for that, Austin. Now
I'm the drum guy.
You're the drum roll guy as well. It's Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady here. I'm sort of shocked we didn't give this one to Aaron Rodgers. We didn't. Yeah. It feels absolutely insulting to say the words "throw Aaron Rodgers a bone," but I am very surprised that we didn't go with Rodgers here. Sam, How did we get to Tom Brady here?
First of all, I can't believe that this award exists. Like, quarterbacks don't have enough going for them in the awards anyway.
You make the awards.
Offensive Player of the Year.
I feel like you have some say in this.
You
Sam.
make the award.
I wanted no part of this
can't
one. I
believe
already
it. He
mixed
says
it.
counting is revenue money.
I had no part of this award. You guys are like, oh, the 5 that were given out to people, definitely do this one.
We had to pick a
Definitely
I
have
don't wanna talk
passer. Anyway,
We'll hand deliver this one to Tom. It'll all be worth it.
look, Brady's season has been fantastic, and Steve's got a ton of numbers because he was trying to justify his MVP case.
You wrote an article for PFF.com?
Absolutely. The thing that I would want to point out with Brady is, let's not normalize the fact that he is doing this at 44 years of age.
The
It
Andrew
is-
Whitworth of quarterbacks.
It is ridiculous. Like,
That's what we've always called them.
Finally.
other great quarterbacks, other Hall of Famers, 5 years ago, like, fell off a cliff, got too old, couldn't do this anymore, and were bad. Brady, not only is he not showing any signs of slowing down, but he's like playing his best football at this age. It is madness, and we should not like lose sight of that just because it's happening every week.
Greg
Drew
Rosen.
Brees, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning are calling Brady games.
Right,
Like they're in the booth, they're on the Manning
Peyton's in the Hall of Fame.
It's like-
His arch rival Peyton Manning is in the Hall of
That's
Fame.
fair.
And Brady won
Yeah.
the Super Bowl in the year that he went into the Hall of Fame.
I'm
We'll talk Brady more, but from a passing standpoint, he jumped into a Bruce Arians offense last year that's known for being,
Difficult.
high risk, high reward. Brady's had the second lowest turnover-worthy play rate this year, so he takes care of the ball and he's leading in big-time throws, those highest-graded throws down the field. So he's just kind of taken Bruce Arians' offense and transformed it into his own.
Greg Rosenthal had a really great tweet today, and he said, I can't believe that Tom Brady is doing the things that he's doing at his age, mainly because I tweeted 5 years ago that I can't believe Tom Brady is doing the things that he's doing at his age, which is just absolutely unbelievable.
I have a daughter in the 3rd grade who is as old as the article I wrote saying that Brady is no longer a top 5 quarterback.
Really?
Yes.
That's insane, dude. That's
That never
insane.
happened.
No.
I don't remember that.
Yes.
I do.
Not at PFF.com.
There's no
couldn't
evidence
be.
of that.
Could not be over at PFF.com. Let's go to best receiver now. We've got Devonte Adams, talking about the finalists here. Devonte Adams, Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, Jamar Chase, Mark Andrews, and Justin Jefferson. I love that Justin Jefferson's on here. Not so sure that he's going to win this award because we've got 2 monsters on the left-hand side of the screen, but man, Justin Jefferson over the last 2 years, the amount of yards that he has racked up have been absolutely incredible. Anybody outside of Jefferson you guys want to give some shout-outs to here before we get to the winner?
Deebo Samuel, man, has been awesome. And the versatile role that he's played for San Francisco, it's been kind of insane how productive he's been, right? Like playing running back, playing out of the slot, playing on the outside. He has been nothing short of fantastic. I heard Eric Eager on the forecast putting him in like this top 5 non-quarterback situation in terms of impact on this offense. And it's not absurd, right? Like there are a lot of receivers I'd pick over Deebo Samuel, maybe Tyreek Hill, Devonte Adams is in that conversation. But man, Deebo Samuel this year has been absurd for the San Francisco 49ers, a big reason why they're in the postseason.
I mean, one way of quantifying just how important and good he is for his offense, he essentially marginalizes George Kittle, who's one of the best playmakers in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, Kittle doesn't get any kind of volume because it's all going to Deebo Samuel. And then when Samuel gets out of the lineup when he's hurt, all of a sudden George Kittle shows up with like a 200-yard game and 15 catches. Like, he would be doing that every week if Deebo Samuel wasn't a thing.
Plus, Deebo plays running back, by the way. He's got 8 rushing touchdowns as well.
Right,
When you put him in the
right.
backfield, that breaks defenses. When you have a wide receiver and defenses saying, there's a wide receiver, let's cover a wide receiver, and you put him in the backfield and he runs better than most running backs, it breaks defenses.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout-out to Mark Andrews, though, because he has been unbelievably productive no matter who the quarterback is. Lamar Jackson, Tyler Huntley. They pulled Josh Johnson off practice squads. It doesn't matter. Mark Andrews making everybody look good, and we highlight the best receiver. Not the best receiver at the position, but the best receiving player. That's why Mark Andrews makes the finals here.
2 LSU boys, too. I mean, you got Jamar Chase in his rookie year breaking
Right.
Justin Jefferson's rookie receiving yards
right.
record. Jamar Chase was insane this year.
Yeah, 2
And
LSU
Joe Burrow was
teammates.
throwing to him.
Yeah.
Who would you guys take over those two?
Man, that's tough.
If you had to pick one, Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase?
I think I'd lean Jamar Chase. I mean,
Yeah.
Jamar Chase has been phenomenal this year. I was talking to Nate Tice today, who does some stuff for The Athletic on their podcast, and he's talking about, like, I was low on Chase, right? Like, Tice had Devonte Smith and Rashad Bateman ahead of Jamar Chase, and is stunned at just how strong he is. He's not tall, right? He's not a big body dude, 6 foot 205. He, kind of gave a grain of salt to the LSU Pro Day. Everyone was running on gas over there, but man, faster than people expected, stronger than people expected, and doing it after missing out on all of 2020. Like, it has been like stupid
And
what
the
Jamar Chase has
the
done.
crazy stuff about when you watch Jamar Chase play, and obviously the connection with Burrow is awesome because it's a great quarterback and a great wide receiver with a really good chemistry among them. But I was at the Bengals-Chiefs game, and there was that 3rd and 27 play, right? Where, like, game's kind of on the line. Like, you got to convert this. There's no way they're converting 3rd and 27. Jamar's not open. He's not open. And Joe Burrow throws the ball, and he just comes down with it. And a couple plays later, he does in the end zone. And, like, that's just what he does. I think I'd take Justin Jefferson just because I feel like he gets open a little bit easier than Jamar Chase. But again, it's just like it's splitting hairs. It's two of the best, right? Two of the best wide receivers. Speaking of the best wide receiver, the winner of this award is Devonte Adams. I think it kind of has to be Devonte Adams. Some people are going to make a case for Cooper Kupp with all the stats that he was able to have, but man, just week in and week out, what Devonte Adams is able to do and how he can manipulate so many different kinds of defenders, so many different kinds of coverages. That's why he's got the 92.7 grade. How close was this, Sam, between Devonte Adams and Cooper Kupp?
Very close, yeah. Look, the people making the case for Cooper Kupp, they wouldn't be wrong. It's a good case. You can make an argument. This is one of the closest awards. You can make an argument for Devonte Adams, for Cooper Kupp, for Deebo Samuel. I think all those guys would be justified winners of this award. Ultimately, like, the difference in PFF grade is that Adams wins a little bit more in all areas than Cooper Kupp does. A lot of those yards, when you look up and it's like, oh, look, there's another 60-yard post to Cooper Kupp without anybody within 5 yards of him, right? Because that offense is scheming up incredible plays. Matthew Stafford's able to hit him, and Cooper Kupp is the guy to maximize that. But Devonte Adams is the guy when Aaron Rodgers looks up and it's one-on-one coverage. It's just an immediate. The ball's going there. And he doesn't necessarily need to be open by much, but he's always given Rodgers just enough a window to fit that in. He is completely uncoverable one-on-one, outside, inside, in whatever coverage you want to run. Yeah. He's the best guy in the league. He's
been fantastic, no doubt about it. Let's go to Comeback Player of the Year. We got 6 guys that were weighing for Comeback Player of the Year. Dak Prescott is one of them. Joe Burrow is another one. Derwin James, Nick Bosa, Carson Wentz, and Tyron Smith. You laughing at Carson Wentz?
A little bit. I mean, Carson Wentz.
It's too soon, Austin. It's too soon.
I mean, Carson Wentz just hasn't graded well this year. But I mean, you got to put him in somewhere, right? The Comeback Player of the Year award is interesting because it's obviously a player that's hurt, like a player that gets hurt and then comes back and plays well. And Carson Wentz didn't get hurt last year, but I guess played a little bit better.
He was the worst quarterback in the league. He's coming back from being the worst quarterback in the league and then kind of getting hurt / benched
and missing the playoffs.
Career was injured. Pride was injured.
I want to talk a little bit about the betting markets here because the betting markets actually have right now is Dak Prescott as the favorite to win Comeback Player of the Year if you can still find it available. I think it was -110 that Dak Prescott wins it. Before the season, I think it was like -200 that he'd win it. Like everyone expected Dak after the big ankle injury to win this award, and Joe Burrow still I think there is a bigger case. I was surprised that Joe Burrow was not the favorite to win Comeback Player of the Year. Another really bad injury, right? And he comes in, he's the number 2 graded quarterback, legitimately leads his team to the postseason. It's between those two guys for me, and honestly, I think I lean Burrow.
Well, it's funny because the MVP is a lot of recency bias. What happened in the second half of the season, and if the market's not moving that way apparently because Dak did not have a great second half of the season. He had 2 really good games that were on prime time and all that stuff, but this became Joe Burrow's team over the last couple weeks. In must-win games against the Ravens and the Chiefs, they put the ball in Joe Burrow's hands. So it was kind of like a late push by Burrow to be the number 2 graded quarterback by PFF, plus throwing the ball 50 times a game, throwing the ball for 500 plus yards. Burrow earned it, but he earned it late when they handed the keys to him.
The other thing about this award is that I think severity of injury matters. Alex Smith won it because that dude walking was a miracle, let alone getting back on the field. Yeah. He didn't play well once he got back, but just getting back onto an NFL field was crazy. So he absolutely deserved it. Dak Prescott's injury, it looked horrific, but in medical terms, it was relatively routine. It's easy to say that because my leg isn't pointing in the wrong direction, but it was supposed to be a full comeback. It was supposed to be smooth enough sailing. Joe Burrow's knee was wrecked to the point where people were like, is he going to be the same guy again? He might not come back like Joe Burrow. We might not see this guy as good as he was as a rookie. His career might have changed because of that injury. So for him to come back and not just be the same player he was, but get exponentially better coming off that injury, I think is significant. I can't believe you credit guy didn't bring up Cam Akers. Dude just made it back from an Achilles.
Oh, wow, that is nuts.
He wasn't on the finalist list.
That is pretty nuts.
Stick to the sheet.
That is pretty great. Well, you hinted at it right there. Our winner of this award is Joe Burrow. Obviously, there's a great case for both Dak Prescott and Joe Burrow, but more to what Sam was talking about, that offensive line in Cincinnati was awful when he got hurt behind it. It's better this year, but it's not significantly taking leaps up better. It's just not. you're getting sacked on every single play like it was the year before, right? I mean, like, yeah, and again, I'm not taking anything away from Dak Prescott. Him rehabbing, getting to where he is, having the Cowboys where they are in the playoffs, that's absolutely fantastic. But Burrow being able to still play behind that offensive line, look as confident as he does, play as well as he has, get the Bengals way above their expected win total into the playoffs, hosting a playoff game this weekend. I think that's a big part of it too. Breakout Player of the Year. That's the next award that we are going to. We've got Cordarrelle Patterson, Jordan Mailata, Hunter Renfrow, A.J. Terrell, Max Crosby, and Devondre Campbell. These are the 6 finalists that we have there. What do we think about that list, guys?
Some impressive names on here, right? Max Crosby, we talked about a ton. I think he could win this award easily. I think Hunter Renfrow has been legitimately the only receiver that can create separation on the Raiders, especially after Henry Ruggs was let go. Devondre Campbell, a free agent signing for the Green Bay Packers, who having conversations with who was the best free agent signing this offseason. Chidobe Awuzie for the Cincinnati Bengals has been phenomenal for them at outside corner, but you could honestly make a case for Campbell too. He's been fantastic, one of the highest graded, I think, if not the highest graded linebacker, depending on how you associate Micah Parsons. But a lot of impressive players on this list. I think I want to talk about the most surprising, right? I do think that Max Crosby surprised me a ton because I think he entered the league and was supposed to add all this weight and supposed to improve, as the season progressed. But he turned it on this year. It was not as steady of his improvement. It was definitely a surprising one for me.
I like this list because it's a whole bunch of guys from different places, right? Australian, rugby player, Jordan Mailata, who we talked about earlier. Crosby's breakout. A.J. Terrell is a first-round corner who broke out in year 2 in a different way than Trevon Diggs, who we mentioned. Trevon Diggs had 11 interceptions. A.J. Terrell just didn't give up anything, didn't have negative plays in coverage. And then Cordarrelle Patterson, right? I mean, he's on this list because he was one of the best running backs in the NFL this year. He is a wide receiver, one of the best kick returners of all time, and now the best running back in the NFL. The best kick returner of all time and one of the best running backs in the NFL this year. So everybody got to this list of breakout player from a different path.
No need to stall anymore with it. Cordarrelle Patterson is our winner for this award, breakout player, and I think it's because of that. You talk about this guy in the same way that you talk a little bit like Deebo Samuel, right? What made the Falcons so difficult, why they were able to win as many games as they were with a crazy negative point differential, it's probably because people didn't know how to guard this guy. They didn't know where he was going to line up. They didn't know what he was going to do. Cordarrelle Patterson had an unbelievable year, overall PFF grade of 86.0.
Our live show partner, Ian Hartitz.
He better be fist pumping at home watching this.
To me, this award is like if you rewound time to the start of the season and said, all right, one of these guys is going to be a superstar, which is the most surprising? I think Cordarrelle Patterson and Devondre Campbell would be the 2 names. I know you just brought up Max Crosby for that, but I think we were lower on Crosby than a lot of people. Okay, the Raiders fans, so they're not necessarily the most impartial people in the world. There's some bias at play, but those guys were already telling you last year that Max Crosby was amazing. Now, maybe they were ahead of it, but I think it would have made sense to a lot of people that Crosby has a very good year this year. Definitely exceeded it, but still. If you were saying, Cordarrelle Patterson is going to come out of nowhere and be the most unstoppable offensive force in the league, people were like, what the hell are you talking about? Get out of here. That's ridiculous. And then Devondre Campbell, who's average PFF grade in his career was 50, comes out here and is the best graded linebacker, all-pro linebacker, playing as a single linebacker in a dime-heavy defense where he's the one guy in the middle of the field going, I got it all, don't worry about it, locked it down. Those 2 would be absolutely ridiculous. So I think that's your coin flip, and we came down on the side of Patterson.
I think Patterson, too, it's the guy who's been in the league for a long time.
Yeah.
With Crosby, it's Crosby, Terrell, these guys are breaking out because they haven't been in the NFL that long and finally had this year. With Patterson, he's been in the league forever, right? I mean, he's 2 decades maybe. No, but I do think it's been a long road for him to have this level of success. I mean, Campbell, too. Campbell's, 30 plus. So I like that it was a coin flip between those 2, and I agree with this pick.
All right, time to talk to good people. You watching this show, do you want to win the ultimate game day feast? Well, when it comes to either football or financial scoreboards, winning strategy always comes with asking questions first. You want to know what it's like behind the scenes with Al Michaels on Sunday Night Football with Chris Collinsworth, or maybe you want to get the answers to all the need-to-know financial questions that you're having for your future. Well, Western and Southern is teaming up with Chris Collinsworth to make all of that happen. So what they're doing is they're asking you to ask any kind of questions you want, whether it's football or financial, and every question that you ask is a ticket to maybe get you a catered event for the big game that happens to happen on February 13th, 2022. I think you guys know what big game I'm talking about there. The way that it's going to go, they're going to pick a winner. Every question that you ask over at westernsouthern.com/askchris, westernsouthern.com/askchris. Every question that you ask gets you a ticket to win, and what's going to happen is they will give you up to $2,500 for a catered event of a local restaurant. They'll work with you. They'll coordinate all of that. But in order to win, you got to ask them some sort of question over at westernsouthern.com/askchris. All the questions get answered on Chris Collinsworth's podcast, as well as Western Southern's Instagram account. So whether it's financial stuff or football stuff, hit them up. And if you are watching this on YouTube, we will have the link right below where you can go check it out and ask some questions as well. Let's go to Rookie of the Year for our next award. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Mac Jones, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Rashawn Slater, Creed Humphrey, and Kyle Pitts. These are our 6 finalists for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Not bad. I mean, as somebody who's been combing through PFF data all year long, these guys are the names that are constantly at the top of their position groups, not just when it comes to being a rookie, but overall in the NFL. Some of these guys are going punch for punch with some seasoned veterans, some second contract guys. They've been playing so well. Who are we giving shout-outs to on this list?
I mean, discussing some of the guys that we haven't brought up a ton, like we've talked Creed Humphrey, Rashawn Slater, Jamar Chase, Mac Jones. Jalen Waddle has been sick. And if Jamar Chase wasn't playing as well as he has, and if the Miami Dolphins had more of a stable quarterback situation, I think more people would, right? Like his average depth of target is borderline criminal for how talented he is, moving and creating separation down the football field. And he'll finish games with like 10 targets, 8 receptions, like 40 yards. It's just absurd. But he is creating a ton of separation there. I think he's a breakout candidate depending on who the Miami Dolphins start under center in 2022. And then Kyle Pitts. No one talks about the Atlanta Falcons because they haven't played that well. The scoring differential has been bad. Over 1,000 yards as a tight end is absurd. I know
it's so funny. I know he gets over 1,000 yards and nobody talks about it. Like but like people, what do people want from Kyle Pitts this year, right? I feel like I've barely heard anything about Kyle Pitts, and he just caught 1,000 yards. Yeah. Like, what did we want from him? 1,500? Or were we not going to be
to score more, right? I mean, we only had one touchdown. That was kind of the thing.
I'm not even criticizing when I say, like, quote, air quotes, tight end. He isn't a tight end anymore. They have actually taken him and said, you're now our number 1 wide receiver, because we don't have Julio Jones anymore, and Calvin Ridley's away from the team. You're it. Like, you are going to be a number 1 wide receiver. And he's getting 1,000 yards doing that. Like, he was a tight end in college. Again, quote unquote, a little bit more. But now he's like playing number 1 wide receiver and is still producing. Like, it's a positive as much as a negative.
I think this draft is going to be remembered for just the freak players that joined the league in this, this particular year. Between Kyle Pitts,
defining players,
Micah Parsons, and we'll talk more about him in a minute. Jamar Chase. The other thing I want to bring up about the Offensive Rookie of the Year award, this is a common one, right? The NFL is going to vote on this, and we just put linemen in our finalists here. Another thing that the NFL is not going to do, you're not going to have the NFL voting for Rashawn Slater or for Creed Humphrey. Penei Sewell probably just misses the cutoff here as a finalist, but we can highlight these rookie offensive linemen who should be in this conversation. It shouldn't just be Jamar Chase and Mac Jones. The other difference here, it's not most valuable, so it's not always like a quarterback-driven award. So Mac Jones, though, has clearly been the top rookie quarterback.
And that's why those linemen should appear not just in this award, but in the NFL ones as well. Like, there's a reason that offensive linemen don't belong in the MVP discussion, even Trent Williams. But they do belong in Offensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Like, they should be in the consideration for those awards. They are at PFF. They're not going to be when the NFL does their awards.
Well, they're finalists, but they're not the winner of this award. The winner of this award goes to Jamar Chase, a guy that we've already talked about here on the show, how fantastic that he has been. Pretty sure I'm pretty sure that right there is the 3rd and 27 catch, or it's the touchdown catch. It's one of them. Corner of the end zone, absolutely clutch, beating Patrick Mahomes. Just what Chase has been able to do. He started off the year so hot, and then it was a little bit of a lull. Then we wondered, okay, was it just that immediate breakout? Now people kind of figured out Jamar Chase. Well, he has shown over the last, I would say, 5 or 6 weeks, no, there's no figuring out Jamar Chase. He is just that damn good at what he has done this year.
He's won everywhere, right? So you're describing the plays down the field where he's winning at the catch point and everything. He's got 2 80-yard plays where it's just short pass that he takes to the house.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't supposed to do that as well. So he's averaging 18 yards per catch, over 8 yards after the catch per reception, in part because of those 2 long ones. But he's winning everywhere, right? Down the field, short game, and he is the absolute go-to guy for the Bengals.
You could see how surprised NFL players were at just how good he is at everything. Like, one of those plays you're talking about is Marlon Humphrey's covering the guy in the slot, and he just beats him at the line and then runs away from him. And Humphrey's like, oh no, like, this isn't supposed to happen. Like, I expected that I could get aggressive at the line, and if I missed, if he beat me, I'd still be able to be in his hip pocket and make the play. But no, he's just gone. And, like, I don't think the NFL was ready for that.
I also think it's another reason why, and this might be crazy to say, but like, he gets better. Like, he's going to get better. Like, this is not, like, he's a young player. He entered the NFL like very young, 20, 21 years old, and there were lulls in this season, right? And he still finished like over 1,400 yards.
Yeah.
He's going to get better, and how they use him will improve. Like, a lot of this is going to get better for Jamar Chase.
I really liked what Steve said there about these guys being so good. You could see them defining the NFL over the next couple of years. Ian Beckles, he's an old offensive lineman, used to play for the Buccaneers. I remember talking with him one year, and he simply put to me, rookies are supposed to suck, right? Like, you are supposed to suck as a rookie. And this group, I feel like we're so spoiled on both the offensive and defensive side, how good these rookies have been this season. So for Defensive Rookie of the Year, we got Micah Parsons, Nate Hobbs, Javon Holland, Kwity Paye, Odafe Oweh, and Patrick Surtain II. These are the 6 finalists that we have for Defensive Rookie of the Year here at PFF. Guys, what do you think about this list?
I mean, this one's obvious, right? I mean, you couldn't bet on Defensive Rookie of the Year after Week 11 because it was so obvious who was going to win. That's how, like, it was like minus 4,000 Micah Parsons was going to win. Now, I'm going to be pretty transparent here, but there are some really talented players, right? Nate Hobbs was a former Illinois outside corner, played some safety. He's played a lot of slot for Las Vegas. I think he's been the highest graded slot corner in the NFL this year, not just among rookies. Javon Holland, who's an Oakland native, graduated from Bishop O'Dowd. Shout out there. Former 4-star, 5-star recruit for Oregon. Plays deep safety almost exclusively for
really well.
A man-heavy defense in Miami. He's been absolutely phenomenal. I think he has the most or tied for the most pass breakups from the free safety alignment of any safety in the NFL. And Patrick Surtain, who has not graded exceptionally well this year. A lot of conversation has been around A.J. Terrell among the young corners in the NFL, but dude has been absolutely as advertised. I remember talking to Shelby Harris, the defensive tackle for Denver ahead of the season. He's like, the dude's a pro. Like, he doesn't look like a rookie. No one treats him like a rookie, and he plays like that, and you've seen that this year.
Can we just explain how special Micah Parsons is?
Yeah,
I tried to get around.
That's good. You gave everybody some credit.
No, that's good.
Here's why Micah Parsons is going to win the award.
Yeah.
So he was drafted as a linebacker, and I feel like this always needs to be explained. Because when you run a 3-4, it's like, oh, you have 4 linebackers out there. Like, no, you have 2 linebackers. Linebacker is a different skill than the outside linebackers, the guys rushing the passer.
Right.
So Micah Parsons is a linebacker who then became a pass rusher. That literally doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. You see pass rushers become linebackers from college to the NFL. You never see it in reverse. And not only did he do it, but he did it with 67 pressures and one of the highest pass rush grades in the NFL.
And didn't just make the transition and then, okay, now he's an edge rusher. Like, he's been moving between one and the other in game. Like, they didn't just say, all right,
that's the crazy
these
part.
next 2 games, we're in a bind, we need you to play edge rusher, just do the best you can. And he was amazing. They went, okay, you were so good at that, we are going to find a way of having you play linebacker and then play some edge rusher and then play linebacker again, and not just like dropping into a little hook zone and take away something underneath, but like turning and running with a slot receiver 40 yards downfield. That guy is doing everything and has been elite at all of it.
Well, Micah Parsons, I just wanted to officially get it.
I forgot we didn't name it.
Micah Parsons, the winner of the Defensive Rookie of the Year, 88.5 grade. I mean, that's just been unbelievable. Look, he had the pass rush background, right? He went to Penn State as a pass rusher, but then they quickly moved him over to inside linebacker because he was that damn good. Plays inside linebacker at Penn State. Now, of course, he goes to the Dallas Cowboys, and credit to Dallas, man. Credit to what Dan Quinn's doing. They are getting the most out of that investment, using him as best as they possibly can.
They really are. Like, credit absolutely to Dan Quinn, but also, like, just remember how lucky Dallas have got with all this. Parsons was basically an afterthought, like a consolation prize. They wanted a corner. The corners were gone. They had to panic, and they took Parsons. Then he was a linebacker for them, and it was only because they lost all of their edge rushers that they went, hey, maybe this giant freak athlete we have can play a bit of edge rusher. Throw him down there, it's like, oh, he's amazing at it. Now we have this hybrid super weapon, and it's massively improved our defense. This is like, remember when Dallas wanted Paxton Lynch, didn't get him, and ended up accidentally getting Dak Prescott, and suddenly the franchise has changed?
The only thing I was going to add is that Dan Quinn definitely deserves some credit for this, right? I think there are defensive coordinators that would not have done what they did with Micah Parsons, 100%. That would have said, no, you're playing this position, this is what we draft you for, you're doing this role. There are games where he plays 40 pass rushing snaps, there are games where he plays 10, and there's some where he does it on the edge, and there's some where he does it off ball. How much they've been willing, or how much Dan Quinn really has been willing to play him wherever it works has been so impressive, and it's a big reason why he's graded well. Now, Micah Parsons deserves 99.9% of the credit, but Quinn, man, tip your hat.
So for the overall rookie of the year, we have our 6 finalists here that I'll give a shout out to, but obviously it comes down to the offensive and defensive rookie of the year. We've got Mac Jones, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle. Micah Parsons gets slid into this category with Rashawn Slater and Creed Humphrey here as well. But of course, it's going to come down to the offensive rookie of the year versus the defensive rookie of the year. Jamar Chase versus Micah Parsons. We've got a drum roll here for you. The winner of this one is Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons, our overall winner for Rookie of the Year. You guys just kind of quantified how good he has been and what he has been able to do. And him versus Chase, I mean, these are two guys that I hope have health on their side, and we're talking about them for a long time because these two players are special in what they're doing.
I mean, there's not much more to it, right? We've talked a lot about Jamar Chase, broke rookie receiving yards records this year, and Micah Parsons has an opportunity to be held in the Lawrence Taylor tier. In terms of, I never watched Lawrence Taylor
but
a
you
ton,
can only imagine.
But I bring up no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying people, when they talk about good defensive players in the NFL, everyone brings up Lawrence Taylor, and I think Micah Parsons has that capability.
Just think back to draft night last year, first round. There was serious debate as to how long is it going to take before a defensive player gets drafted, because it was all quarterback, receiver heavy. Could you go 10 or 11 picks? It ended up being 8 picks before you saw a defensive player.
Right.
And this list of finalists is all offensive players and Micah Parsons, right? Parsons being the winner, but it was definitely an offensive heavy draft. But Parsons has risen to the top as the top rookie.
All right, let's go to Offensive Player of the Year. We've got Joe Burrow, Trent Williams, Devonte Adams, Cooper Kupp, Joel Bitonio getting a shout out, love it, and then Mark Andrews. I love that as well, that Steve was highlighting Mark Andrews a little bit there. So, guys, of these 6 players, we've got Burrow, we've got Williams, we've got Devonte Adams. A lot of these guys have already won awards tonight. Who really stands out head and shoulders above the rest, you think, winning Offensive Player of the Year?
Before we get into it, I think it's important to address a finalist that wasn't on there, right? If you are betting Offensive Player of the Year, Jonathan Taylor is -110, Cooper Kupp is -110. That's it. You really can't bet on another person to win this. So ultimately, who wins NFL Offensive Player of the Year will be between those two. Cooper Kupp, obviously the Triple Crown, receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns leader. And Jonathan Taylor, easily the best running back in the NFL. And I know PFF has this running backs don't matter kind of connotation with it, but Jonathan Taylor's been sick this year. Absolutely incredible this year. I think even though he's not a finalist on this list. Well,
clearly, I think for the Colts to be in contention the way they were.
Yes, exactly. He's made up for.
They don't do that without Jonathan Taylor,
Colts
especially
have had
for how
injuries along this offensive
play.
line, right? It's a reason why they weren't a top 5 offensive line on our list here, and also he's made up for bad quarterback play. Carson Wentz has not been the reason they were even in the running for the postseason. Taylor has played well.
Taylor's had some incredible production behind some really well-run blocked plays, but he's also maximized the yardage that those run block plays have gotten. He has added value on top of great blocking, which isn't always something you can say for running backs. A lot of those guys take what's blocked and don't get an awful lot more. Taylor was getting what was blocked and a lot more this season.
Taylor's been the most valuable running back in the NFL. We have taken the ability, though, for Offensive Player of the Year, a common award, like you said, that the NFL is going to have, and said we're going to focus on our grading, the ability to grade every player on every play, and the ability to add linemen to this equation as well. Because again, Trent, you can't bet on Trent Williams, you can't bet on Joel Bitonio.
Right.
You could. There's some cheddar.
You can, but you're probably not going to win because the NFL is not going to vote for them. The best tackle, the best guard in the NFL, they're in our finalist list because we could do that because we have the data to look at that.
Well, that's a great transition into who did win this award, and it is Trent Williams. When I said that we were going to talk about Trent Williams quite a bit throughout the show, I was not just talking about through the Offensive Line Awards. He is winning our Offensive Player of the Year with, once again, as you see it at the bottom of the screen, a 98.3 grade. I mean, Sam, is it almost as simple enough as saying, look at the grade? I mean, just log in and look at the grade.
I mean, yeah, but look, there's a lot of people out there that understand that we do this, but they don't really appreciate what that grade is. That grade is a play-by-play accounting of not just Trent Williams' season, but every single NFL player's system. It's the data and the grades that every NFL team pays for and pays a lot of money for. So when we say it's the grade, what you need to do is to understand that that's somebody going through 3 different people actually going through and watching every single one of his plays and quantifying every time he takes a linebacker and buries that dude into the stands like he's auditioning for The Blind Side 2. That's what he's been doing all season long.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say to it, right? Now,
Yeah.
I mean, and I think I've spoken about this a little bit, and you're probably better equipped to do it. But like, once you get to 94, 95 in PFF's grading system, when you get to that tail of the bell curve, it's very difficult to go from 95 to 96 and 96 to 97. Like, it's not the same as going 87 to 89. It's very hard.
You got to be overly dominant at your job.
And it's a
to
lot
be
of what
that.
Steve has said, right? It's like avoiding negative plays and having a shitload of these like blindside 2 type of blocks. And
Yeah.
it's a combination of those things that have led him to be literally. I don't know if we'll get another offensive tackle that grades this better.
Yep.
And again, from an O-line standpoint, it's run blocking and pass blocking. And it is like Joe Thomas is one of the best pass blocking tackles of all time. He was never a great run blocker. He was good. Like Trent Williams has been.
Joe Thomas out here catching
What
strays.
the hell?
Look, I
called Hall of Famer Joe Thomas merely good.
I know you've
at
got a
one part of the
rivalry
game.
with Joe. So
Joe Thomas stinks.
I
Steve.
would dunk on Joe. Anyway, Trent Williams is an elite pass blocker and run blocker. That leads to a 98 grade.
Let's go to our Defensive Player of the Year category. Here is the finalists for Defensive Player of the Year for PFF. We've got Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald, Micah Parsons making this list. That is just unbelievable that a rookie is on this list. Max Crosby, Kevin Byard, and TJ Watt. Again, we have a handful of players who have already won awards tonight who are within this category. What do we think about these 6 guys on screen?
I want my
Just
swing of the
explain
bat.
the top guy. We've talked about everyone else. Explain Aaron Donald versus TJ Watt, because the NFL is going to vote for TJ Watt because he broke the sack record and he's not going to win this award.
I kind of want to take my first swing of the bat. Can I take my first swing of the bat on that discussion?
Sure.
Yeah.
I know Sam has been at it. I think he's working on an article for PFF on it. But like, I think for this award, Defensive Player of the Year, for the last few years now, it's been, okay, who wins Defensive Player of the Year? Just Google who has the most sacks in the NFL. And that's just not enough, man. Like, these defensive players play 800 plus snaps a year, and you're like, okay, those 20 snaps, okay, 22 and a half or whatever it is, that's why you're Defensive Player of the Year. No,
And that's a lot. Like, normally it's like 15.
Exactly. So
right?
normally it is like 15, 16. What about the other 780 snaps? And like, TJ Watt has not played nearly as much as Aaron Donald has. Aaron Donald has played more defensive snaps this year than any defensive tackle in the past 10 years. He has 20 more pressures, 10 more defensive stops, and efficiency matters. And TJ Watt, from a pass rush win rate perspective, is in that tier with Donald, but he hasn't played as much. And for Defensive Player of the Year, for me, it's about value. Donald has been on the football field so much more. He almost has double the pass rushing opportunities that TJ Watt has. Don't give the award for 20 snaps. Give the award for 800 as the ones that Donald has played.
And Watt is an edge rusher, so for him to have the same kind of pass rush win rate as Aaron Donald, Donald is not supposed to be near those guys for pass rush win rate. Interior players get a significantly lower amount of pressure than those edge guys who are one-on-one in some space, with have room to work with, and the quarterback doesn't always see them coming, right? When you're a defensive interior guy, quarterback sees you coming the whole way, so it's a lot harder for you. And there's tight confines. There's often 2 guys. Aaron Donald is way more double teamed than anyone. So for him to have the same kind of win rate as TJ Watt is madness, and the volume is absolutely out of this world. We also track a bunch of plays where you win your block, right? You beat the guy at the line and you're bearing down on the quarterback, but the ball's gone and the quarterback never knows it's coming. So it's not pressure, but you've won. It is a definitive pass rush win. We track those, and Donald has almost 70 of those plays, more than any other player in the NFL. TJ Watt is not in the same build. He's in like 30-something, I think, something like that. Myles Garrett is at 56. Max Crosby's 57. TJ Watt, when he wins, they've been incredible plays. They've been sacks, they've been strip sacks, they've been splash, impact, game-changing plays.
Yeah.
But he has not won at the rate of these other guys.
Well, as you guys can probably figure out, Aaron Donald's going to win this award. Aaron Donald's going to win this award. Everybody on the desk is talking about Aaron Donald. And obviously, we kind of made the case for Donald over Watt there. So I won't start with what you guys think there. Everybody knows that. My question is this essentially like LeBron James with the NBA? Are we just supposed to give this award to Aaron Donald because he is the best defensive player every year? Or talk to me about the career overall. Is this just an Aaron Donald award at this point?
I think you could make the case that Aaron Donald should have 5 straight, and this being a 6th defensive player of the year awards. He doesn't, because we get bored of giving it to Aaron Donald.
Right.
And also, we judge Aaron Donald against Aaron Donald, right? So the year where he almost broke the sack record, that's now his standard. So if you have a year where you only get 15 sacks as an interior player, which is like,
that's a great point
a
too.
top 10 season all time for an interior player, it's like, you got 20 before. Like, what's the problem now? It's like, but it's still better than anybody else this year. So I think Donald suffers for those things, but generally speaking, he's going to be the best defensive player in any given season.
By the way, TJ Watt has been great this year. He has been excellent. He's had huge moments, forced fumble in overtime against the Ravens. He's saved the game in overtime against the Seahawks. But again, the emotional response that 22 and a half sacks, and don't even get me started on half sacks, the emotional response that triggers is what's going to win TJ Watt the award, when all we're saying is look to all 700 of his snaps, because run defense matters too in our equation, and the 1,000 snaps that Aaron Donald brought to the table.
All right, it's time to get to the final 2 awards of the night. They are the 2 biggest awards. We'll get to MVP. We'll save that one for last. And now we're going to talk about the Dwight Stevenson Award. I hinted at this at the beginning of the show. This is kind of like our Heisman. This is our recognition of the best football player this year. It doesn't necessarily have to be the most valuable, because we even have a metric here which talks about wins above average, wins above replacement for those who are big baseball fans. That's always going to go to quarterbacks. Quarterbacks just control the game so much, so we really wanted to even go beyond Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. Who is the best football player? And Sam, explain how this award got the Dwight Stevenson name.
Well, yeah. Also, who is Dwight Stevenson?
That's what he's getting to. That's what he's getting to.
I'm a young guy.
Leave.
All right.
Leave the desk. Don't come back. We don't need that. We don't need that.
Now you're the question of Dwight Stevenson.
Dwight Stevenson is one of the greatest players that's ever played the game. But he played center for the Dolphins back in the day when you were like 3, so you don't know who he is. He had an 8-year career, over which time I think he was a 5-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, something like that. He's widely regarded as being one of the single greatest players to ever play his position, so he lent his name to our best player in the NFL. And frankly, I'm a little bit insulted this isn't the last award we're doing. That we've left that for MVP, given how much I hate the MVP award.
I didn't make the rundown.
That's really why this was built, right? You don't like, because so we don't have to, so we don't have to sit there and debate. The V stands for value. Yeah. You just say Stevenson Award. It stands for best player in the NFL.
Yeah, you joke, but that's actually what happened. I hate the MVP award so much, and the fact that we tie ourselves in knots debating value, that it just went, look, the whole point about that is we're trying to reward the best player in the league.
But I do think the value conversation has subsided, right? I think more people are like, we get it, it's a quarterback award.
Yeah, but
wait till we get to that award. I'll bring the value back to the table.
We will get it. We will get into that. I want to bring up the 6 finalists.
But just the last point here, it's only a quarterback award because we've accepted the value part of it. The whole point is, the reason that award exists in every sport, in every country, is to just give an award to the best player that year. That's what the Stevenson does.
We're saying we're too damn literal. I almost said liberal, but we're too damn literal with the award. That's why we have Dwight Stevenson. Okay, the finalists. These are the 6 players that we are noticing as the best football players from 2021. Trent Williams, Devonte Adams, Aaron Donald, Myles Garrett, Cooper Kupp, Joel Bitonio. Look at Joel Bitonio making this list. Joel Bitonio has made so many lists.
He's been the finalist of everything.
I love it. I love that he has made this. He's not going to win this award. I'm just letting you guys. I'm spoiling it for everybody at home. But I love that we're giving recognition to Joel Bitonio.
Joel Bitonio making it as the finalist for the best coverage player as well. Just everywhere.
So I think that this award is going to come down to 2 players, the ones that we have spoken the most highly about: Trent Williams and Aaron Donald. These are 2 of the best players in the trenches on either side of the ball. Let's hear the debate. I want to hear. What would you guys say? I'll announce the winner afterwards, and obviously Sam has picked the awards. But do you think there is a definitive case, or could you make one for either side?
I mean, I don't think there is an obvious definitive case. I mean, I think this is one of the closer awards between those 2 specifically. I think after that, it's harder. I'm not putting Devonte Adams, Myles Garrett, Cooper Kupp in this category. I do think that Aaron Donald, Trent Williams has to win this award for PFF for most outstanding player, best overall player in the NFL. The Dwight Stevenson, former Miami Dolphins center, I've heard.
Yeah,
I don't. This is you're pulling.
You're learning a lot today. Dwight Stevenson, Lawrence Taylor. You're learning all kinds of things.
You're splitting hairs here, man. I think Trent Williams has been absolutely phenomenal. I think if you go from a purely grading perspective, 98.3. I don't even think Donald's hit that.
No. Yeah, I mean, the point is we have 0 to 100 grades where you can compare players across positions. It's not always perfect, but it's one way of doing that. Trent Williams has a higher grade than Aaron Donald. Then you would look at how dominant is that player, against the rest of his position. Donald is always pretty dominant against his position. Cameron Hayward's kind of close this year. Trent Williams also dominant against his position as well, though.
Donald is the only non-quarterback in the NFL who has been worth more than 1 win above replacement. So that's it's a quarterback award. The quarterbacks are the value guys. If you're a quarterback, you're generally speaking worth more than 1 win, to your team versus a replacement player. Almost no other position is. Cornerbacks, wide receivers, offensive linemen, Donald is above 1 this year, and that's crazy.
All right, we're getting a little drum roll here for the winner of this, and it is, between Aaron Donald and Trent Williams, But we're giving it to Trent Williams. And, how could you not? After Steve sets it up the way he does, hey, we've got these grades so you can compare value and skill across positions. You've got a guy who's 5 points higher than almost 5 points higher than Aaron Donald's grade, which seems unbelievable. Sam, was this always going to be the choice in the end?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think Trent Williams this year, it's been an historic season for him. Like we said, the next two guys on the list in terms of offensive tackle grades are two Hall of Famers, and he's a distance ahead of those guys. This has been an absolutely incredible season for him. At one point, he had a grade, an overall grade of 99. I've never seen that. Never. Like he was
not in a season.
No, not over any extended period of time.
Like one play.
Right. He has reached levels that we've never seen a player hit. And Donald, as good as he's been, we've seen it before from Donald.
All right, time to
you
talk.
have voter fatigue.
Yeah.
Is it voter fatigue?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Time to get to the award that Sam hates the most, that Steve's got a lot of words to talk about. It is MVP.
Man.
Of course, you're done here after Dwight Stevenson. You're just done with this. NFL obviously gives out this award. We talk about it on Twitter and all sorts of social media all the time. Here's who we have as the finalist for MVP of the 2021 season. Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, and Dak Prescott. Obviously, this is a quarterback award. It's a quarterback award for the NFL. It's a quarterback award for us as well because the wins above replacement, the wins above average, it is just so high for these guys that play the quarterback position so well. Steve, I'm going to start with you. Make your case on who you think should win MVP.
All right, so first off, it is the only sport, is the ultimate team sport, but it is a sport where the position value is so in the favor of quarterback, as you mentioned, that it has to be quarterback, right? So we won't get into that too much right now. But I made the case for Tom Brady last week. He is number one in our PFF wins above replacement metric. That is our way of comparing across positions with a value component. So it's not just how well you played, it's how often did you play and in which facets of the game did you play the best. So Brady's number one. Of course, it's all quarterbacks. But Brady is above Justin Herbert, who just jumped to number 2 with that performance Sunday night. Joe Burrow's number 3. Aaron Rodgers, who's the MVP favorite, comes in at number 6 in our wins above replacement metric. Because again, the how often matters. And the Bucs ran their offense through Tom Brady. He averaged over 42 attempts per game. That is value, right?
Averaged.
So they averaged that. Aaron Rodgers had like 5 or 6 games above 40 attempts. So the Bucs run their offense through Tom Brady. The other part of our grading is Brady graded higher than Aaron Rodgers. And why is that not showing up in a whole bunch of advanced stats? Brady had a higher drop rate on big-time throws. He had 8 passes into the end zone that got dropped or just should have been caught by receivers. So Brady, with the raw numbers, passing yards and touchdowns and all that stuff, usually that stuff appeals to the voters. Rodgers has the advantage in a bunch of the efficiency numbers, though those are skewed by supporting cast, by your receivers, by your opposing defenses. Brady also had the more difficult group of opposing defenses. So there's a lot in Brady's favor when you dig deeper into this award.
And not necessarily skewed by supporting cast in terms of just, those guys are better than these guys, right? Because generally speaking, I think they're actually reasonably close, but it's in those specific plays. Or if anything, like Tom Brady has a better supporting cast, right? When you look at just the array of weaponry, albeit a lot of them injured, but that doesn't matter if they're not catching those passes they're put in the end zone, right? If you deliver a pass to a guy in the end zone and he doesn't come up with it, it doesn't matter if he's a better player than the guy Aaron Rodgers is throwing to. If they're making the plays and they're not, it completely changes that. So Brady's numbers are being skewed by, even if he might have an abstract version of a superior cast, they're letting him down more this year.
All right, so we know that it's between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. So we're going to get one final drum roll here for who wins the award. PFF's MVP of the 2021 season. It is Tom Brady. Steve, you don't have to go home sad about this one. You get to rejoice. We are choosing Tom Brady as our most valuable player. Austin, Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. Thoughts on the debate there?
Yeah, so to level set, and you mentioned that Aaron Rodgers is a favorite to win MVP. I think it's minus 400 that Aaron Rodgers wins, and Tom Brady is plus 350, which was plus 500. So there is maybe some money coming in on Tom Brady. Maybe Steve is starting a movement. But the thing for me is that MVP, and you mentioned this, I think, on an earlier award, is that it is a lot of recency bias sometimes, right? How you do towards the back half is sometimes more important maybe than you do as the start. Whereas with PFF grading, it's all viewed equally. Like, what did you do in the first half of the season versus what you do in the second half of the season doesn't matter. With Aaron Rodgers, did not start the season all that well. He had a 59.1 PFF grade under pressure through weeks 1 through 10. Did not grade all that well. Had that really bad stinker in week 1 against New Orleans Saints. And then towards the back half, no quarterback is graded better than Aaron Rodgers under pressure. And that's what a lot of people see in the highlights, and that's what a lot of people see down the stretch for Aaron Rodgers. He's played really freaking well. So has Tom Brady. I also think the best point that Steve made is the volume stuff. Like, volume matters so much in value. If you're throwing the ball 50 plus times, Aaron Rodgers isn't, you are more valuable to that team. Like, you are more important
especially
to that
if you're
team.
doing it at that high of a level.
The thing that moved the market that you talked about, though, was Brady's stinker against the Saints. And it was probably about the same game that Rodgers had. That Rodgers had it in week 1, Brady had it in week 15. It was in prime time. They had the same exact game, but Brady's was more recent. In week 1, Brady went 4 touchdowns and beat the Dallas Cowboys, the NFC East champions. If you just flip when that happens, everybody's emotions change, and all of a sudden Brady's the favorite. But we're counting every single snap that was part of the 2021 season, so Brady.
The other thing about the volume element is it isn't just important for value and being more valuable, it's harder. Like, when you're asked to drop back 45 times a game, 42 on average, that is way harder than if you're only asked to do it 25 times a game. Like, Mike Zimmer and Pete Carroll, their dream scenario is they're great quarterbacks, only have to pass the ball 20 times because they're dominating the run game and their life is easier. Aaron Rodgers has had a much easier time of it in terms of how much they're asking him to do relative to Brady.
One last point. Rodgers has been fantastic. He's been great. They've had a revolving door of offensive linemen. But, as you said, it doesn't matter the names, it's how well they played. The offensive line has played well. Brady's had a better offensive line. Rodgers has actually had higher graded receivers, even though the name talent isn't as good as what Tampa Bay has this year.
I like name talent. I got to use that more.
Name talent. Yeah.
Could also, on paper.
Could be a great cop-out, too. Like, if you start using, like, well, I mean, when you look at
name talent, pretty fire.
Man, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. We gave out some big props to a lot of guys, a lot of great awards. This, I think, was a fantastic way to highlight the season. How did we feel about it? Any final thoughts before we get out of here? Anybody did? I mean, I'm shouting out Joel Bitonio, who was like a finalist for like 4 awards.
Can we send him some sort of
like most finalists, and we just got to do something. Recognize
best runner-up.
Pretty damn
period.
Good.
I mean, he might not like that. You know, like we've got to make it a little bit better. But final thoughts on the season from you guys before we get out of here.
I mean, I think Steve did a really good job on the show, like really highlighting like what PFF's trying to do, right? Like what PFF is doing with these grades and how valuable they are because they don't have involved like this recency bias and they bring a lot of those things in. So I think it has been interesting to kind of hear why Brady over Rodgers, why Burrow over these different things. I think it's been an exciting show. It's definitely I've learned a lot on this one, including who the fuck Dwight Stevenson is.
I'm just happy we've been able to teach you who all these great players are.
Exactly. I know who Dwight Stevenson is, and that's all that matters.
So shout out to all the voters. The answer. We gave you the answers tonight. You can send your ballots in now.
We did. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show as well. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back for the NFL preview of Wild Card Weekend this Saturday. We're changing up the show because obviously the playoffs. We got to get the show in before Sunday's game or before Saturday's games. We're coming to you live on Saturday afternoon. We will see you guys then.